Hi, friends, and welcome to our Healing Hearts Journal Party recap. This session was all about self-love and tapping into our hearts and understanding ourselves a little bit more, seeing ourselves in a different light, finding closure, even if it's self-validation that helps us to get to the next point in our lives. It's really about finding our paths toward healing. So our prompts lean heavily into self-discovery as well as healing and forgiveness. And so we're going to get into it today. We kind of went through a little agenda. So the first part of it was about intention setting. You all know me by now. Intention setting is where we start with our journal sessions every single week. So we started with intention setting this week, specifically heart-centered intention setting. And then we shifted into journaling for self-love, healing with words, or we got into some creative prompts there. And then of course, again, you know me, I end in gratitude every single time. I love to end on a high note, and gratitude is the root of joy for me. So it's key. So getting right into our first prompt of the session. So again, we started with intention setting, and we had everyone set an intention for what they hope to gain over the time together. So it was really, again, about heart-centered intentions. For me are heart-driven, heart-centered. They're about what you want to gain out of your time doing anything, right? And so this was journaling. So it was about why you showed up and what it is that you wanted to gain at the end of the hour. So for me, I wrote down that my intention was to simply breathe, do my best, and not to worry. I knew there would be some hiccups with the links and the tech issues this time around, and the only thing that I could do was tell myself not to worry. Follow-ups would go out afterwards. Be present, focus, breathe, and get through the session. And so that was my intention. Sometimes we come into situations or into experiences and things just kind of go haywire. And so for me, with something like this and journaling in a session, I really always just want to be present, and everything will get taken care of afterwards is what I remind myself of. And so I hope that that's helpful. If you ever find yourself in a crazy situation or a chaotic situation or everything seems to be going wrong, always just focus on the present moment and what you can do in that moment. That can be your intention, and that intention can help you to take your next step with clarity. So we set our intentions for this journal session, and we shifted into our first main prompt. So this one was called The Garden of Your Heart. And this journal prompt was imagining your heart as a garden. What does it look like now? What would you like to grow in your heart garden? Consider qualities like love, compassion, patience, forgiveness, whatever it is you want to grow. What seeds are you planting within your heart garden? And what do you want to see bloom and blossom and sprout, right? So we're going to write about the seeds that you want to plant in your heart's garden, and then also how you plan to nurture them, because it's not enough to just plant the seed, right? We have to take care of it. We have to nurture it. We have to practice it. So if we're planting patience within our hearts, then we have to practice patience, and we have to nurture it, and we have to remember that that's what we planted in our hearts. We took a few minutes and we journaled to this prompt, and it was fun to see what peeps came up with. So what I wrote down in mine is I'm planting, of course, love, joy, patience, hope, faith, optimism, confidence, and forgiveness. These are all things that I planted in my garden. And then as far as how my heart already looks, or what it looks like right now, I kind of described it as muddy and soiled, heavy, which was interesting because when you think about mud and soil, right, that's what you need to grow, to plant a seed, right? So the ickiness of it all is really the nurturer in so many ways. It teaches you, it helps you to grow and blossom, right? So we go through these hard moments in life where we want to just be healed. We just want to be done with it all, stress-free, right? But those are the things and the moments and the situations that really catapult us and push us further into our purpose, our goals, our dreams, and whatever it is that we're working toward. So even if your heart seems a little heavy and soiled right now, healing is about the journey. It's about nurturing what it is that you want to see come out of your life, right? So this journal prompt was interesting. The way I approached it was I actually drew like a heart with flowers coming out of it in my journal. And then around it, I wrote down all of the seeds that I would like to plant in my garden. So again, with me, there's no rhyme or reason with how you're journaling. It's just whatever comes up in your heart and your mind and getting it out and onto paper so that you can visualize it and see it and feel a sense of clarity and relief in your next steps. So that was our heart-centered journaling prompt. And then we switched into journaling for self-love. And so this prompt, another visualization exercise. So this one was, imagine you meet another version of yourself and spend the day together. Write about what you learned from seeing yourself as someone else. So this one is really about seeing yourself in a different light. And so the questions that we kind of covered, we weren't pressured to answer all of these questions, but they were just kind of prompts to help you think through how you wanted to respond. And so we have here, what did you think about yourself at first glance? What surprised you about yourself? Did you discover any strengths or talents that you didn't realize you had? And then think of a time during this imaginary day with yourself. Think of a time when you felt proud of yourself. What were you doing? Why did it make you proud? Was there a moment when you thought you were too hard on yourself? Sometimes we can be our own worst enemy, right? And so we want to write about a time, maybe even when we were too hard on ourselves, right? Write about how seeing yourself from the outside changes your opinion and your approach and your response to yourself. And then if you could tell this version of yourself something before leaving, what would it be? So simply end your journal prompt with a kind, encouraging message to yourself. So we went through this prompt, and what came up for me was, and I won't share all of this, I'll just share a piece of it, but the other version of me is walking joyfully, sitting in patience. She is bold and she knows that it's okay to walk in her purpose. So she exudes confidence, right? Not arrogance, but confidence in this knowing that she is who she is, she's okay with it, and she's moving forward and reaching and achieving her dreams and aspirations. And so that's kind of what I wrote in terms of how this other version of me is. In terms of the encouraging message that I left myself. So I basically said, keep going. The version of you that you met is you. It's who you want to be. It's who you're becoming. It's who you're working toward. You will get there. And it's about, again, seeing yourself in a different light, a different perspective. We have a tendency sometimes to be our own worst enemy. And it's important for us to sometimes step outside of who we are so that we can become who it is we're working toward becoming, who it is we want to become, right? Those qualities about ourselves that we know are there, we want to embrace, but we want to practice them more and let those show up more than others. So I hope that makes sense. Journaling for self-love and seeing yourself in a different light, a more positive light, a more confident light, if you will. So that was our journaling for self-love prompt. And then, of course, we switched to our next prompt. And this one was fun. It was about the apology that you've never received. So that aspect of closure that we're always looking for in various situations, but we don't always get. And so this prompt was, write the apology you needed to hear from someone but never did. Then respond to that apology from your current perspective, addressing how you've forgiven, grown, or healed since then. So this one was interesting. I did not open the floor for everyone to kind of share around this prompt because I figured it would be a little personal for some people, you know, experiences that we've gone through and then writing that apology. And so this one, we kind of kept secret, kept to ourselves. And I think that's important because journaling isn't always meant to be shared with the world, right? In fact, it's really one of the most personal things that you can do is to sit with your journal and just kind of release your innermost thoughts. And so sometimes it's important to kind of keep certain things close to us. And so we wrote our apologies and we responded to the prompt. And then we gave ourselves the closure and the self-validation that we needed to move forward. And so then we switched to healing with words. So we created healing mantras or affirmations, very similar. So the prompt was to create a personal healing mantra that resonates with your journey and current needs. It could be about self-love, forgiveness, strength, or moving forward. Write it down and then explain this mantra to yourself, essentially, like, right? Expand on its meaning and how it can guide you in moments of doubt or struggle. And what I like to do with affirmations is just put them somewhere where I can see them. So I have like this little device that literally only shoots out quotes and affirmations, but then I also have my phone, right? My head, unfortunately, is quite often in my phone, but when I put affirmations there as wallpapers, as photos that I may be scrolling through, it reminds me to be kind to myself, to give myself grace, to encourage myself, to push myself forward. That little mini moment of inspiration that I may be looking for or not knowing that I need is always there. And pops up for me. So it's important to put these in spaces where you know you'll see them and you'll be reminded of these positive words. So we created healing mantras and affirmations. You can see on your screen, there are a few examples there, like I am a work in progress, deserving of love at every stage. With each breath, I release the past and welcome peace. I forgive myself for my mistakes and embrace my power to grow. And then finally, healing is my right. I claim it with grace and strength. So these are just examples to help you kind of come up with your own mantra. If you know me, you know mine is about rest, especially as a mom of two. So mine was, I am deserving of rest. Rest comes to me when I need it most, and I am full of loving, positive, and good energy. So that was my mantra. And then, you know, we end in gratitude. Gratitude is the root of joy for me. It's key for living my life. It's a way of life. It's not just something that I list when I wake up or before I go to bed, but it really is a way of life. Finding the moments and the things and the people and the places to be grateful for is a practice. It's something that I like to practice because it reminds me of where I am, where I've been, and where I'm going. So the prompt was to list a few things that you are grateful for in your life right now. It can be experiences, people, places, things, lesson learned, or simple pleasures. And then include a simple reason as to why you're grateful for these things. For me, it's not enough to just list it. I have to remind myself why I'm grateful for it. It gives it more meaning. It gives it more oomph, if you will, for a lack of better word. It just kind of creates that meaning around it, and it holds more weight for me when I can list the grateful thing, but then also why I'm grateful for it. So we shifted to gratitude. We wrote down what we were grateful for, and then we closed out the Healing Hearts journaling session. So I am going to share these prompts in the caption of this video. And if you have or want to respond and share your answers or your entries, feel free to do so in the comments section of the video. And I hope to see you next week at our next journaling session. So that was Healing Hearts Journal Party, and I will see you in the next video.